Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about front-end developers. So let's get into it. So the question in question was actually posted on an old video that I made where we basically answered the question, should I switch programming jobs? And I have this tiny little segment in that video where I say something along the lines that it's really hard, I would say almost impossible, to find a front-end developer who I would consider a senior front-end developer. I've to this day only met one or two, maybe, I would consider front-end seniors. Everybody else who claims it is like full of shit, in my opinion, because that's basically how I feel about it. So the question is, why is it so hard to find front-end developers that are senior? This is an excellent question. I think it's the most important question that can be asked in the front-end space. And I'm not going to claim that I have a perfect answer to this, and I can't even claim that there is. Like, that's the thing. Like, well, how do you define a senior? That's the problem. I can only go by my definition. And the only, for me, the main thing that decides whether or not you are a senior level software developer, it's not your years, and it's not even like how skilled you are. It is about, can I trust that if I bring you into a project, that you are going to be able to make the correct technical decisions, the right team decisions, the right stakeholder decisions, and basically have a holistic understanding of what's going to make this thing fly, what's going to make this thing a success. And that is something that is beyond the average developer. I have worked with people who have 20 years of experience, and they cannot do this. Doesn't matter if they're front-end or back-end. Doesn't matter if they're system architects or not. They're, in the sense, they're good people, but in this area, in this thing that I'm trying to explain, they're incompetent. And for the vast majority, that's the lucky part, right? The vast majority of IT considers a senior simply somebody who has enough years to be self-reliant and be able to make sort of mature technical decisions and know all the tech and all the tech, the different stacks and things like that, and a bit of architecture and so forth. That's what a senior is. I mean, some people claim, I love this. I used to work when I was in the university. We had a guest speaker from a local agency who came in with this. I don't know what he was. He was like an early 30s something, maybe late 20s dude. He looked like a supermodel. He was beautiful. I immediately wanted his attention when he came into the room. But he basically claimed that his boss claimed that this was a senior Android developer. And so the class asked him, how long have you been working? 2 years. Okay, so you've been working for 2 years, and that makes you what? The term that we use to describe basically one of the most experienced, if not the most experienced level that we have. So as you can imagine, the term is kind of loose. And his claim was that, well, the Android platform is so small that you kind of master it in that amount of time. And sure, at the time I didn't really know all that better. And now that I'm older, wiser, and have less hair, I can kind of go, yeah, that's about what I expect from someone who's hiring out consultants. Guys, this is a pro tip. Never ever trust anything that comes out of the mouth of anybody who is selling you consultants without knowing what the hell you're buying. Never trust them, ever, under any circumstance. I don't care how nice they are. So why do I claim that it is so hard to find senior front-end developers? Well, it's very simple. Because, as I was saying, in order for you to pass my bar for what a senior software developer is, you basically need to have the maturity to make good, strong, informed technical decisions. And that is simply not something that exists in the front-end community today. It's almost unheard of. There's a lot of focus on tooling, there's a lot of focus on performance, there's a lot of focus on UX and all these other things that are very nice, that are related to the experience either of the user, like user experience, or the DX, like the developer experience. There's a lot of that going on. And a lot of experimentation, a lot of these all-round healthy things that I really like to see in an experimental environment. But here's the kicker. If you are in an experimental environment, then per definition you lack one thing, and that is stability. Stability and predictability. And these are the two main things, or if you want to call it one thing, let's call it one thing. That is the main thing that matters when you're building for the long haul. Stability is everything. Velocity and like all of that stuff, that is dwarfed in terms of we're talking like importance by the stability and consistency of what you're doing. That is why as an example, I think that C#, that's why it's quote unquote so easy to find a senior C# developer in comparison. Because if you take C# as, I'm not saying that C# is the best language in the world, because I'm not claiming that. I'm just claiming that the ecosystem that Microsoft has built up around the C# language protects the average developer. It's actually so well designed that it makes it easier for you to reach a senior level within that space. In other words, the odds of you being able to make good, strong technical decisions is actually made a lot easier because the product, or like the C# language, is designed to make that very easy for you. That's not JavaScript. That's not frontend. Frontend is, in comparison, the Wild West. You have maximum freedom. I will go and say this. I will argue, and C programmers, please feel free to chime in here. I will argue that the problems that you might face with inexperienced or immature developers in the JavaScript or like the front-end community is the same sort of problem you might face with a C programmer who doesn't really know what they're doing or is too experimental and so forth. Because C, in a similar fashion, is pretty raw. It's pretty low level. It's like the ecosystem is there, you can do your work and so forth. But there's a lot of emphasis on that you know what you're doing, that you can make good, strong decisions. And in C, usually the people who go into C have a computer science background or similar things. And I will go as far as to argue that that is a better setup, like it's a better preparation for someone to become a senior than what I see in the front-end space. Because in the front-end space, we kind of just have this attitude that if it works and it looks kind of okay, then it's good. That's how people work. And even at the senior level, that is what I see. As long as I'm happy and like the code is sort of working, it's all good, right? And that's not what I call a setup for breeding good senior software developers. So, what I want you to take away from this is that the reason why I think it's so hard to find front-end developers that are senior is because my definition of a senior software developer is a little bit different from what you will see on the job postings. Because on the job postings they care about years and how many tools you know. That's what they care about. And like, can you produce? Can I just tell you build this and then you can build it? That's all. Because the people who are hiring you to do these sorts of things, they don't actually know what they're buying, because we software developers were basically wizards to the average person. And I think that the thing that we should do, we should strive towards as a community to help all of our industry, is to be responsible wizards. If we understand that it's on us to practice good magic and good practices, because we're basically being trusted to do that. And I think that we should have a little bit of personal pride and in our craft and things like that. Well, if we do that, a lot of this claim that I have will probably just vanish into nothingness, because it's based on this one fundamental truth, in my opinion. And that is, if you give a child who doesn't know any better a lighter, they will burn down your house. And it's not because they want to, it's not because they're bad, it's because they don't know any better. They don't understand the power that they have in their hands, and they're applying it in the incorrect fashion. That is the problem with frontend. That's why you don't have senior frontend developers, because they lack the maturity to make good, strong, informed decisions, because they simply don't have a support network of good tools around them that makes those decisions easy, because it's practically the Wild West. I don't think that's going to stay that way forever, but that's where we are right now, I think. And I think the best thing for everybody is, if you want to be a real, in my opinion, like a Frederick certified, approved senior front-end developer, then become a full-stack developer. Because by doing that, I promise you, your way of thinking about how to write front-end code will mature by magnitudes. Have a great day.